You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. Hello, Cowboy fans, and welcome to the Big D Breakdown. As always, I'm your host, Larry Lease. Today, we're diving into all the latest headlines from around AT&T Stadium. Before we do that, give me your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys heading into the season, which, as you know, begins tonight at 7 o'clock. And with that, let's dive into our first topic. We're going to make some 3 wild, bold predictions that Cowboy fans will love and haters are going to blast. America's team could surprise some people in 2025, or not. But, you know, go bold or go home, right? There's no getting around the fact that the Cowboys took a big hit last week after Jones sent shockwaves throughout the entire league by trading disgruntled defensive superstar Micah Parsons to the Packers. But there's also no getting around the fact that America's team simply has to move forward. Losing an all-world talent like Parsons undoubtedly makes the Cowboys a weaker overall team, but it's not as if there aren't other all-pro level players on this roster. And for Dallas to have any shot at getting back to the postseason after a disastrous 2024 campaign, first-year head coach Brian Schottenheimer will undoubtedly need those players to be at their absolute best. And with that in mind, we're going to kick off our predictions for the 2025 season with none other than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott will win Comeback Player of the Year after leading the league in passing yards in 2025. Prescott, of course, missed the second half of the 2024 season after suffering a hamstring injury in Week 9 during a loss to the Falcons, one which ultimately required surgery. But Dak heads into the 2025 season fully healthy, and we're calling for the 3-time Pro Bowler to have a monster bounce-back campaign, one so strong that we're predicting Prescott to take Comeback Player of the Year honors after leading the league in NFL in passing yards. Yes, you heard that right. Achieving such a feat obviously won't be easy, as there are plenty of other quarterbacks capable of winning the passing yards title, including Joe Burrow, who led the league last year with a career-high 4,900 yards. But what some may have forgotten about Dak, given the unfortunate string of injuries he's suffered over the last 6 seasons, is that in each of the 3 seasons in which he's been fully healthy during that stretch, he's thrown for more than 4,400 yards. 4,900 in 2019, 4,400 plus in 2021, and a little over 4,500 in 2023. One would assume the Cowboys will employ a pass-first and pass-heavy attack, thus giving Prescott plenty of chances to inflate his numbers. And with Dallas adding Pickens during the offseason to line up opposite CeeDee Lamb, Dak has more dangerous weapons at his disposal than he's had in years. If Prescott stays healthy for the duration of the 2025 season, don't be surprised if he becomes the first quarterback in Cowboys history to throw for 5,000 yards in a single season. Number 2, the Cowboys will have a top 10 defense despite losing Micah Parsons. It's no secret that the Cowboys' defense was an absolute disaster a season ago under Mike Zimmer, ranking 31st in points allowed per game and 28th in total yards allowed per contest. And with Parsons now wearing a Packers uniform, it'd be very easy to predict a repeat performance this season. But we're actually going to go in the other direction. There are some people who are far more suited to be assistants and coordinators than there are to be head coaches. Guys like Wade Phillips being a prime example. And we're of the opinion that the new Dallas defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, is cut from the same cloth. The former Bears head coach obviously has his work cut out for him, but we're thinking he can turn this unit around. And even with Parsons out of the mix, we're calling for the Cowboys to have one of the top 10 overall defenses in the league in 2025. As Jerry Jones made it abundantly clear in his post-trade presser, the Dallas defense has had its issues stopping the run, ranking 29th in that department a season ago by allowing 137.1 yards per game. Improving this aspect of the Dallas defense will undoubtedly be the toughest test Eberflus faces. The addition of Kenny Clark will help in the trenches. Jones wasn't lying about that, and from an overall standpoint, the team is stronger at linebacker than it was a season ago. It's not an all-star unit by any stretch of the imagination, but someone like former first-round pick Kenneth Murray Jr. might play with a little extra motivation, knowing he has no contract beyond this season. Damone Clark, who looked solid during training camp, could be thrown in that group as well. As far as the Dallas pass defense is concerned, the Cowboys ranked 17th in that aspect in 2024, allowing 218.1 yards per game, and that was with both Trayvon Diggs and Daron Bland missing sizable chunks of the season. Diggs isn't quite 100% yet, but the fact that he's not starting the season on the PUP list is great news. Elam is a bit of a wild card, but he's another one coming into the season with something to prove. And with a strong overall group of safeties, the Cowboys secondary is stronger as a whole than it was last year, even with the loss of Jordan Lewis. As far as the Dallas pass rush is concerned, we're back to the Parsons well one last time, as it'll obviously be weaker. But the return of Dante Fowler Jr. will undoubtedly help, as will the return of Sam Williams, who missed all of last season after suffering a torn ACL in training camp. Marshawn Nealon should be better in his second season, and we're calling for a big year from second-round rookie Donovan. Man, I used to know how to say his last name, but I'm just going to say Donovan E. And number 3, Brian Schottenheimer will win Coach of the Year by leading the Cowboys back to the playoffs. Being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys certainly isn't the easiest job in the world, and Jerry Jones certainly didn't make things easier on Brian Schottenheimer with the move he just made. But the 51-year-old knows this team, and it only took him 2 practices at training camp to change the narrative that he's too nice to hold the big job. Intensity is in his DNA, and I think we're going to see plenty of that as the season progresses. For Schottenheimer to win Coach of the Year, the Cowboys would obviously have to make the playoffs, and that's actually the real prediction here. Now, we're not quite ready to go as far as to say that Dallas will win the division, although we will project that both the Eagles and the Commanders will take a step back. If the Cowboys can get to 10 wins, we think they should be enough to clinch at least a wildcard spot, and a 10-7 mark could even win the division. We'll just have to see how things play out. But regardless, if it's as a division winner or a wildcard team, the Cowboys making the playoffs would undoubtedly put Schottenheimer in the Coach of the Year race, given everything he's had to deal with before even stepping onto the field for his first regular season game as head coach. So, let me know in the comment section below. Do you have any other predictions you want to make right now? But with that, let's dive into our next topic. There is one key mismatch that could hand Cowboys a major Week 1 upset. The Dallas Cowboys are the biggest underdogs going into Week 1 as the Philadelphia Eagles are 8.5 point favorites. Since 2004, the home team in the NFL's kickoff game is 17-6. And it's pretty clear that most experts believe the Eagles will emerge victorious with relative ease on Thursday. It's hard to envision the Cowboys pulling off the upset here, but there are a few ways in which it could happen. In order for Dallas to pull off the biggest upset of the week, they're going to need one specific matchup, and that matchup is none other than George Pickens versus Adoree Jackson. One of the top priorities for the Cowboys this offseason was finding a viable number 2 receiver to pair with CeeDee Lamb. The initial plan was to draft one early, but then the Cowboys decided to wait until after the draft to fill that spot. And that is how Pickens eventually ended up in Dallas. So far, that move has been excellent for the Cowboys. Pickens had a really strong training camp, and the off-field concerns have not emerged. By all measures, he has been bought into the program and has embraced playing with Lamb. And if the Cowboys are going to pull off the upset on Thursday night, they will need their new star receiver to play like one against the Eagles. You can bet on Lamb having a big game, but expect the Eagles to give him a ton of attention. Quinyon Mitchell could follow him into the slot, but the Eagles will make sure to focus their attention on the all-pro receiver. That means Pickens should see a lot of one-on-one coverage with Adoree Jackson, likely opposite of him. The Eagles have had some issues filling in that number 2 cornerback spot since Darius Slay left at free agency. The hope was that Keely Ringo would take hold of that job, but that has not been the case. Jackson won the job by default, and his career has been rocky at best over the last few years. Since the start of the 2022 season, Jackson has allowed 7.6 yards per target and 13.2 yards per completion. He's recorded just 1 interception during that span and has been one of the league's least efficient cornerbacks, according to Pro Football Reference. The Cowboys will need to win this game on offense, and exploiting the Jackson matchup might be the way to do it. If Pickens gets off to a slow start, it's hard to see how the Cowboys sneak out a win. But if he can make a big debut for Dallas, maybe the Cowboys have a chance to go toe-to-toe with the reigning Super Bowl champions on the opening night of the season. Keep an eye on Pickens and his usage, as his involvement in the offense will likely tell the story of the game. A big performance by the former Georgia star could go a long way in stealing a win for the Cowboys. Now we're going to take a look at the Cowboys versus Eagles. While it has a fresh look to it this season, there are some familiar faces that will likely have the biggest say. It's been a long time since the Cowboys and Eagles faced off in Week 1. When the Dallas Cowboys travel to the Philadelphia Eagles tonight, looking to spoil their championship banner night, they will also be looking to avoid their first 3-game losing streak to the hated rivals since 2003-4. These teams have gone punch for punch in recent history beyond last year, with neither side winning more than 4 times in a row since the Cowboys did it from 2017 to 2019. As Eagles' win streak of at least 4 games in this series isn't found until 2000 to 2002, when they won 6 in a row. The Cowboys own the longest winning streak in rival history with 11 straight between 1967 and 72. Even more amazingly, just one of those wins by Dallas was by 1 score. Through all this history, the stage being set for the Cowboys and Eagles to renew a rivalry that features the two teams with the most division wins in Thursday's Week 1 season opener feels like the closest thing to a reset as possible for their 133rd all-time meeting. The Cowboys and Eagles first played on September 30th of 1960, and the Cowboys lead the series 74-58. The Eagles sweeping the season series a year ago was the first sweep by either team since 2021, when the Cowboys won a perfect 6-0 against the division. It was the Eagles' first sweep since 2011, the first of 3 straight 8-8 seasons under Jason Garrett for the Cowboys. When the Cowboys earned that sweep in 2021, only one win was a Dak Prescott versus Jalen Hurts quarterback matchup. For the Eagles' most recent sweep in 2024, it was Hurts against Cooper Rush in a Week 10, 34-6 in Arlington for the Eagles, and then Rush against Kenny Pickett in a battle of two teams going complete opposite directions in Week 17 in the city of brotherly love. The Cowboys were going through the motions in their second to last game and eliminated from playoff contention, ending the season on 2 losses outside of the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. The Eagles' 41-7 win ignited a new winning streak for them, one they rode all the way to a Super Bowl victory over the Chiefs. One of these two teams not having their starting quarterback in the head-to-head matchups has become a theme of the rivalry as of late. Since Hurts became the Eagles starter in 2021, he has missed at least 1 game in all but 1 season. Also, since 2021, Prescott has missed 15 games, the majority of which came last season after his season-ending injury in Week 9. The 2022 Week 6 game at the Eagles was the last of 5 straight that Prescott missed that season, and also the only game backup quarterback Cooper Rush did not win. Off to a stunning overtime loss in Jacksonville in Week 15, Prescott and the Cowboys returned home to face an Eagles team without Hurts. Gardner Minshew surprisingly gave Dallas all they could handle in a shootout, 40-34 win for the Cowboys. But it set these teams on different directions down the stretch of the regular season. The Eagles lost again the following week without Hurts, but got their starter back to beat the Giants by 6 in Week 18, and then made a run to the Super Bowl. The Cowboys split their last 2 regular season games to enter the playoffs at the familiar record of 12-5, and got a familiar result in their second straight playoff loss to the 49ers, this time in the divisional round. The last time the Cowboys went to the playoffs was also the last time the regular season featured 2 Hurts versus Prescott games. With last year feeling like something of a wash in the rivalry, and the scheduling all but guaranteed a Prescott versus Hurts Week 1 game this time around. It is these 2023 matchups to look at closely before going into the reset that is 2025. The first meeting between these two teams 2 seasons ago came on the road for the Cowboys and was a nail-biting game of inches. The Dallas defense faced just 23 pass attempts from Hurts in this game, tied for his fewest of the season up to that point. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both caught touchdowns on 2 of them, though, and Hurts ran 10 times for 36 yards and a touchdown of his own. It was Smith's touchdown that gave the Eagles a lead they'd never lose in the third quarter, and Browns that put the Cowboys on their heels also later in the third quarter to go ahead 28-17. The Eagles not turning the ball over was key in this game, as the Cowboys had more first downs, 114 more total yards, and kept the time of possession about even despite the disparity in the ground game. Philadelphia playing a clean game in these ways and going 3 for 4, scoring touchdowns in the red zone, was just enough support around Hurts to get the dramatic home win with a late defensive stand. Prescott was forced to drop back 27 times in the fourth quarter alone, and the Eagles took advantage with 3 of their 5 sacks on the game. Still, Prescott managed one scoring drive with a 70-yard touchdown to Jalen Tolbert to make the score 28-23 and came tantalizing close on 2 other attempts to have a game winner. In a play that mildly haunts Cowboy fans to this day still, Luke Shoemaker had a touchdown called on the field with a catch in the flat on 4th and 1. The play was reviewed and replayed countless times, eventually revealing that Shoemaker's knee was down with the ball millimeters short of the end zone. The Cowboys defense was forced to get nothing but 3 and outs in the fourth quarter to keep themselves in the game, and they did just that from the goal line after the Shoemaker ruling. Unfortunately, the Cowboys would suffer yet another turnover on downs later in the fourth quarter. Excuse me. After being sacked on first and second down going to the 2-minute warning, CeeDee Lamb got 13 of the 21 yards needed back on third down. Prescott threw incomplete for Tolbert on fourth down. Thanks to a failed 2-point conversion on the earlier Tolbert touchdown, the Cowboys were not in position to kick a field goal, and this would haunt them as they miraculously got the ball back one more time. Using all 3 of their timeouts and stopping 3 straight DeAndre Swift runs, the Cowboys got the ball back with 46 seconds left in desperation mode. 36-yard pass interference penalty put the Cowboys quickly at midfield, although they still needed a touchdown. They would get into Eagles territory on an ensuing roughing the passer penalty and on the fringes of the red zone with a 14-yard completion to Lamb. The Cowboys actually got as close as the 6-yard line with a first and goal, but a Tyler Smith false start pushed them back to the 10, and then a sack put them at the Eagles' 22. The Cowboys' first play from this spot was an incompletion to Tolbert, followed by a delay of game, and their final play of the game came all the way back at the 27. Their best chance to get in the end zone was now behind them. With 5 seconds left, the Cowboys got the ball to their best playmaker in Lamb, but he was tackled short of the end zone and fumbled the ball to lose 28-23. The loss evened Prescott's record on the road at the Eagles to 3-3 and was a microcosm of how these teams have differed in being able to support their franchise quarterbacks. Running back Tony Pollard tied with Tolbert for the 3rd most targets in this loss for the Cowboys, who lacked just enough juice on offense around Lamb's 191-yard game to get the job done. Thursday's night game will mark the 3rd time the Cowboys are in the NFL's kickoff game, and first since a 2021 loss 31-29 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their previous win did come against a division opponent, but at home versus the Giants 24-17 in 2012. The Eagles have been in this game twice, both after winning the Super Bowl. The league has featured the defending champion in the first game of the year the last 8 seasons. Philadelphia defended home field last time as well, beating the Atlanta Falcons 18-12 in 2018. Also for the Eagles, this will be the first of 5 games to start their season against playoff teams from a year ago. They will go from hosting the Cowboys to visiting the Chiefs, back home versus the Rams, then at the Buccaneers, and finally home versus the Broncos. The Cowboys will remain in divisional play for Week 2 at home versus the Giants, and not see a 2024 playoff team until Parsons and the Packers visit Dallas in Week 4. Will the steadiness of Hurts and the continuity they've built under Nick Sirianni be enough to win their 3rd straight against the Cowboys? Or have all the changes the Cowboys made this offseason really set them up to contend better against their strongest rival? These are the similar questions surrounding the pending Prescott versus Hurts primetime matchup, with new faces looking to insert themselves into the rich history of Cowboys-Eagles, knowing their best plays will have to come in crunch time to do so. And now on to our next topic, The Cowboys have locked in another key piece with a last-minute deal that fans actually did not see coming. The Dallas Cowboys are preparing for their Week 1 battle against the Eagles on Thursday Night Football, but the front office continues to make a handful of long-term moves before the season kicks off. Obviously, that started with the trade of Parsons, but has since extended to Deron Bland, who received a new contract in Dallas. He wasn't the only player to receive a new deal this week, as the Cowboys have agreed to a new 2-year deal with fullback Hunter Luepke, worth up to $7.5 million. That makes Hunter the third highest paid fullback in the league, despite playing just 2 seasons in the league. There are going to be plenty of football analysts who make the joke that the Cowboys traded Parsons so they would have enough cap space to sign their fullback. Just go ahead and ignore that nonsense, as this was the smart deal for Dallas on several fronts. He has played over 300 snaps on offense during the 2024 season, according to PFR, and the expectation is that number will grow in year 3. While he isn't the most physical blocker, it's his versatility that makes him a worthwhile piece in the offense. He was a decorated runner at North Dakota State, but his real calling card is what he can do as a receiver. There have been several times over the last 2 years when he's impressed in the passing game, both as a receiver and a blocker. Excuse me. Dallas also loves that he can be used as a tight end, making him even more valuable in this offense. And with the Cowboys likely to lean more into wide receiver sets this year, that could open up more snaps for Hunter in the offense. And also wouldn't be a surprise to see him get more traditional running back carries, especially in short yardage. He's also a core special teams player for Dallas, which is why this extension makes too much sense. He can wear a lot of different hats on game day, and his ability to block, catch, and run make him the perfect Swiss Army knife. It's clear that the Cowboys are trying to lock up a majority of their offense this year, and the hope is that a Tyler Smith extension is next. The plan appears to be spend money on offense to keep the unit intact, while the defense will likely see an influx of draft picks over the next 2 years to improve the depth. We'll see if this strategy works, but at least it's a plan, and the Cowboys are keeping some of their most useful players on offense. Expect Hunter to have an even bigger role on the offense this season. And before we wrap up our episode, we'd like to remind you that our sponsor this week is Fanatics. If you're looking for the best place to get Cowboys gear for the start of the season, look no further than Fanatics. They have the authentic Dallas Cowboys hats, jerseys, shirts, sweatshirts, other merchandise at reasonable prices. Just use the link today and check out Fanatics. And with that, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/thebigd. Everything you give goes right back into this channel. And with that, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.